I worked overnight security at Crestview Medical Research for 8 months before Kevin showed up. The job was simple. Walk the building every 2 hours, check the doors, monitor the camera feeds, and make sure nobody broke in to steal equipment or research data. The facility was mostly empty at night. Just servers humming in locked rooms and the occasional lab tech finishing late. I liked the solitude. I'd bring my laptop, catch up on shows between rounds, and collect an easy paycheck while the rest of the world slept. The building itself was a maze. 3 floors, long, sterile hallways with identical doors, fluorescent lights that buzzed like trapped insects. Some sections required keycards I didn't have. Executive offices on the 3rd floor, the animal research wing in the basement. I was told to note anything unusual in those areas, but never go inside. Fine by me. I wasn't getting paid enough to be curious. My supervisor, Dale, called me on a Tuesday in late September. "Got some good news," he said, though his tone suggested otherwise. "We're bringing on another guard, Kevin Marsh. He'll be covering some of your shifts, maybe working alongside you on weekends. Company wants better coverage." I didn't need better coverage. I'd been handling 5 nights a week just fine. But I didn't argue. Dale didn't make those decisions. Kevin started the following Monday. He arrived exactly on time for the 11 p.m. handoff. Tall, maybe 6'2", with short brown hair and a face that was hard to read. Not unfriendly, just blank. He wore the same uniform as me. Navy blue polo, black pants, flashlight, and radio on the belt. He smiled when Dale introduced us, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Rachel, right?" he said, extending his hand. "Yeah, nice to meet you." His handshake was firm. His palm was cold. Dale walked him through the basics: the route, the logbook, the camera monitors in the security office. Kevin nodded along, asking occasional questions. He seemed competent, professional. I told myself it'd be fine having someone else around. That first week, we worked separate shifts. I had Sunday through Thursday. He covered Friday and Saturday. I didn't see him except during the brief overlap when we traded off. He was always polite, always punctual. He'd ask how my night went, and I'd give the standard answer: quiet, uneventful, same as always. But on Thursday night, I came back from my midnight round and noticed something off. The security office was small, just a desk, 2 chairs, and a wall of monitors showing feeds from 32 cameras throughout the building. I'd left my coffee mug on the desk, half full. When I returned, it had been moved, just slightly, maybe an inch to the left. I stared at it, trying to remember if I'd bumped the desk on my way out. Maybe. Probably. I sat down and pulled up the camera history on the computer, rewinding to when I'd left the office. The feeds showed empty hallways. Nothing moved except the timestamp in the corner. I fast-forwarded. At 12:14 a.m., a shadow crossed the camera outside the security office door, just for a second, barely visible. I rewound and watched again. There, a flicker of movement. Someone walking past, but the hallway was a dead end. The only thing back there was a storage closet and the server room, both locked. I checked the access log. No keycards had been used in that area all night. I told myself it was a glitch. Old cameras, bad wiring. It happened sometimes, but when I picked up my coffee mug to take a sip, I noticed something else. It was warm, like someone had just made it. The weekend passed without incident. Kevin worked Friday and Saturday, and when I came in Sunday night, everything seemed normal. The logbook showed his neat, blocky handwriting, all clear, no issues. I didn't mention the coffee mug. It sounded paranoid, even in my own head. But over the next 2 weeks, small things kept happening. I'd find doors propped open that I knew I'd closed. My locker in the break room, sealed with a combination lock, would be slightly ajar when I arrived, though nothing inside was missing. Once, I came back from a round to find the security office chair adjusted lower than I'd left it, as if someone taller had been sitting there. I started taking photos on my phone before I left the office. The chair height, the position of my water bottle, the angle of the keyboard. When I returned, I'd compare. Sometimes things matched. Sometimes they didn't. On October 12th, I worked my first overlapping shift with Kevin. Dale had scheduled us both for a Saturday night. Something about a special delivery coming early Sunday morning that required 2 guards on site. Kevin arrived at 11 p.m., same as me. We nodded to each other in the parking lot, and he held the door open as we entered together. "Quiet night ahead," he said. "Usually is." We sat in the security office, splitting the camera monitors between us. He took the left bank. I took the right. The building was completely empty except for us. No late-working researchers, no cleaning crew. Just the hum of the HVAC and the distant buzz of the lights. At midnight, I stood to do my first round. "I'll come with you," Kevin said, rising from his chair. "You don't have to. One of us should watch the monitors." Dale said we should walk together on double shifts. Safety protocol. I didn't remember Dale saying that, but I wasn't about to argue. We walked in silence, our flashlights cutting through the dim hallways. Kevin stayed a few steps behind me, close enough that I could hear his breathing. The building felt different with someone else there, smaller, more claustrophobic. I was used to the solitude, the predictable rhythm of my own footsteps. We checked the first floor, then took the stairs to the second. As we walked past the East Wing labs, I heard it. Footsteps. Not ours. Somewhere above us. I stopped. Kevin stopped. "You hear that?" I whispered. He tilted his head, listening. "Hear what?" The sound had stopped. I waited, holding my breath. Nothing. "Maybe the HVAC," I said. "Maybe." We continued the round. When we returned to the security office, Kevin sat back down, without a word, and stared at the monitors. I tried to focus on the feeds, but I kept glancing at him. He didn't move, didn't check his phone, didn't stretch or yawn. Just watched the screens with that same blank expression. At 2 a.m., he stood. "My turn," he said. "Want me to come?" "No, you've been walking all week. Rest." He left before I could respond. I watched him on the cameras. He moved methodically through the first floor, checking doors, shining his light into dark corners. Then he climbed the stairs to the second floor and disappeared into the East Wing. The East Wing had 3 cameras, all mounted at opposite ends of the long corridor. I watched Kevin walk to the middle, where the coverage was weakest. He stopped and stood there, just stood, not checking doors, not looking around, facing the wall. I leaned closer to the monitor. The image was grainy, black and white. I couldn't make out details, but I could see his silhouette, completely still, like a mannequin. 1 minute passed, then 2. My radio crackled. "Everything good?" Kevin's voice, calm and even. I grabbed the radio. "Yeah, you okay?" "Fine. Just thought I heard something." On the monitor, he still wasn't moving. "What did you hear?" A pause. Static. "Nothing. Must have been my imagination." He turned and continued his round. When he came back 15 minutes later, he sat down, logged the walk in the book, and said nothing else. At 6 a.m., the day shift arrived. Kevin and I clocked out together. "See you next week," he said in the parking lot. "Yeah, see you." I sat in my car and watched him drive away. Then I pulled out my phone and opened the photos I'd taken of the security office before the shift. I compared them to how the office looked now. The chair was in the same position. The water bottle hadn't moved, but my pen, a blue ballpoint I always left on the right side of the desk, was now on the left. I didn't use it all night. Kevin was left-handed. I'd noticed when he wrote in the logbook. I locked my car doors and drove home, checking my rearview mirror the entire way. I didn't work with Kevin again for another week. Our schedules stayed separate, me on weeknights, him on weekends. I told myself I was overreacting, so he stood still in a hallway for 2 minutes. Maybe he was tired. Maybe he did hear something. And the pen? I could have moved it myself without thinking, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. On Tuesday, October 22nd, I arrived for my shift and checked my locker in the break room, like always. I kept my backpack there during rounds. Wallet, keys, personal items I didn't want to carry. The combination lock was secure. I spun the dial, opened it, and froze. My car keys were on top of my bag. I always kept them in the outer pocket. Always. I was obsessive about it, ever since I'd locked myself out in a parking garage years ago. Outer pocket, zipped shut. Now, they were sitting loose on top, as if someone had taken them out and forgotten to put them back properly. I checked my bag. Everything else seemed untouched. Wallet, phone charger, headphones. But my work schedule, a printed copy I kept folded in the front pocket, was missing. I went straight to Dale's office. He was packing up to leave, tired and irritable. "Dale, I think someone's been in my locker." He sighed. "Did you forget your combination?" "No, someone opened it. My keys were moved, and my schedule's gone." "Rachel, those locks are your responsibility. If you left it unsecured, I didn't." He rubbed his eyes. "Look, I'll check the break room camera, but honestly, you probably just forgot. It's late. You're tired. Can you check tonight?" "I'll look tomorrow. I've got to get home." He left. I stood there, alone in the empty hallway, my pulse hammering in my ears. I went back to the security office and pulled up the break room camera feed myself. I rewound to 10:30 p.m., half an hour before my shift started. The break room was empty. The camera had a clear view of the lockers. At 10:47 p.m., Kevin walked in. I sat forward, gripping the edge of the desk. He went straight to my locker. No hesitation, no checking the other lockers, just mine. He reached up, too high for the combination lock, and did something I couldn't quite see. The angle was wrong. Then he opened the locker. He stood there for 30 seconds, looking inside. Then he took something out, too small for me to identify on the grainy feed, and put it in his pocket. He closed the locker, walked out. I rewound and watched again. And again. He knew which locker was mine. He knew how to open it. My hands were shaking. I grabbed my radio, then stopped. What would I say? Kevin opened my locker. Dale would ask why. I'd have to explain the coffee mug, the pen, the chair. I'd sound paranoid, unstable. I checked the employment records on the shared drive instead, something I probably wasn't supposed to access, but Dale's password was taped under his keyboard. I found Kevin's file. Name, Kevin Marsh. DOB 03/15, 1988. Previous employment, Sentinel Security Solutions, Greenfield Industries, North Point Medical. References listed with phone numbers. I called the first reference, a manager at Sentinel Security named Bill Howell. The phone rang 4 times before a groggy voice answered. "Hello. Hi, I'm calling from Crestview Medical Research. We recently hired a Kevin Marsh, and I'm verifying his employment history. Did he work for you?" A pause. "What? Kevin Marsh? He listed you as a reference?" "Lady, I don't know any Kevin Marsh, and I've never heard of Sentinel Security." My stomach dropped. "You're Bill Howell?" "Yeah, but I work at a tire shop. I don't know what you're talking about." I hung up. I called the second reference. Disconnected number. The third rang endlessly. No voicemail. I sat back, staring at the monitors. Kevin's references were fake. All of them. Dale hired him anyway. Or maybe Dale never checked. I opened the camera history and searched for Kevin's previous shifts. I started with last Friday. The footage showed him walking his rounds, same as always. But at 2:30 a.m., He entered the third-floor executive wing, the area I wasn't cleared for. He used a key card. I checked the access logs. No entry recorded. I watched him disappear into an office. 17 minutes later, he came out holding a folder. He took it downstairs to the security office and spent the next hour reading. I fast-forwarded through more shifts. He did it again on Saturday, and the Saturday before that. He was accessing restricted areas regularly with a keycard that didn't log. I checked my own shift history on 3 separate occasions. The cameras in the East Wing had gone offline for exactly 12 minutes during my rounds. All 3 times I'd been on the first floor. Someone had disabled them remotely. I pulled up tonight's live feed. Kevin wasn't scheduled. I was alone. Or I was supposed to be. I checked the parking lot camera. Kevin's car was parked in the back row. My breath caught. I grabbed my flashlight, my radio, and my phone. I didn't know what I was going to do. Confront him? Call the police? But I needed to know where he was. I left the security office and moved quickly down the first-floor hallway, checking each room. Empty. I climbed the stairs to the second floor. My radio crackled. "Rachel," Kevin's voice. Calm, close. I stopped, frozen on the stairwell landing. "I know you're looking at the cameras," he said. "I know you saw the break room footage." I didn't respond. "You should have left it alone." I turned and ran back down the stairs. My footsteps echoed. Behind me, I heard a door open. I reached the first floor and sprinted toward the exit. I slammed into the crash bar. Locked. It shouldn't be locked. Fire code required it to open from the inside. I spun around. The hallway behind me was empty, but I could hear footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Coming closer, I ran toward the side exit, my flashlight beam jerking wildly across the walls. My radio crackled again. The side doors locked too. Kevin's voice was still calm, almost gentle. "I sealed the building an hour ago. It's just us now, Rachel." I bit back a scream and changed direction, heading for the security office. If I could get there, I could call the police, lock myself in. But when I rounded the corner, Kevin was standing in the hallway ahead of me, just standing there, hands at his sides, blocking the path. I skidded to a stop, my breath coming in ragged gasps. "Stay away from me," I said, hating how my voice shook. "I'm not going to hurt you." He took a step forward. "I just need you to understand something." "Understand what? That you've been stalking me, breaking into my locker? You lied on your application. Your references are fake." He tilted his head slightly, like he was considering this. "The references were necessary. Dale doesn't check carefully. Most places don't. Why are you here? The same reason you are. A job. Bullshit." I backed up, keeping distance between us. "You've been watching me, following me. You disabled the cameras during my shifts." "To see how observant you were," he interrupted. "You're good, Rachel. Better than the last one." My blood went cold. "The last one? Jennifer Kern. She worked here before you, lasted 6 months." He said it casually, like he was discussing the weather. "She wasn't careful. Fell asleep during shifts. Didn't check the logs. When the company realized how much equipment was going missing, they fired her." "What does that have to do with—" "I was the one taking it." He smiled then. Small, brief. "Medical equipment, research data, worth a lot to the right buyers. This facility has terrible security, no internal audits, cameras that go down constantly, executives who never check their offices." He paused. "All I needed was access, and a scapegoat." The words hit me like cold water. "You framed her? She made it easy. But you—" He studied me with something that might have been admiration. "You're meticulous. You notice things. The coffee, the pen, the locker. I knew you'd be a problem." I fumbled for my phone in my pocket, but he shook his head. "I disabled the cell repeater 30 minutes ago. No signal in the building." My hand closed around something else. The panic button on my radio, a direct line to the local police station installed after a break-in 2 years ago. I just needed him to keep talking. "So what's the plan?" I asked, forcing my voice steady. "Kill me? Frame me like you did Jennifer?" "No, nothing that dramatic." He took another step closer. "You're going to quit. Tomorrow. You'll tell Dale this job isn't working out. Stress, night shifts, health issues, whatever. You'll leave quietly." "And if I don't?" His expression didn't change. "Then I'll make sure everyone knows you've been stealing. I've already planted evidence in your locker. Key cards, inventory logs with your signature, a USB drive with copied research files." He paused. "Or I could go another route. You live alone, don't you? Ground floor apartment on Maple Street, Unit 4B. You get home around 7:30 a.m. Always lock the deadbolt, but forget the chain." My throat closed. He knew where I lived. He'd been there. "How long have you been watching me?" 3 months, since before I applied." He said it like it was nothing. "I needed to know if you'd be easy to manage. You're not, but you're smart enough to know when you're beaten." He was close now, maybe 10 feet away. I could see his face clearly in the fluorescent light. Still blank, still calm. "Here's what happens next," he said. "You're going to walk back to the security office with me. We'll sit down. You'll type your resignation email to Dale, effective immediately, citing personal reasons. I'll unlock the doors. You'll leave, and we'll never see each other again." "And if I go to the police?" "With what evidence? Fake references. You'll sound paranoid. And when they search your locker, they'll find stolen property. Who do you think they'll believe?" He extended his hand, like he was offering to help me up. "Come on, Rachel. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." I pressed the panic button. Nothing happened. No alarm, no alert tone, nothing. Kevin's smile widened slightly. "I disconnected it last week." That's when I ran. I bolted past him, shoving him hard as I went. He stumbled, surprised, and I sprinted down the hallway toward the back stairwell. I could hear him behind me, his footsteps faster now, heavy and deliberate. I hit the stairwell door and took the stairs 2 at a time. Going up. 3rd floor. The executive wing. The area I wasn't cleared for. But Kevin had a key card, which meant there was another exit up there. I burst through the 3rd floor door and ran. The hallway was darker here, emergency lights casting long shadows. I tried every door. Locked, locked, locked. Behind me, the stairwell door opened. "Rachel," his voice echoed, "there's nowhere to go." I kept running, my lungs burning. At the end of the hall, I saw it. A door with an illuminated exit sign above it. I slammed into it. It opened. Cold night air hit my face. I was on a fire escape, metal grating beneath my feet. I didn't hesitate. I climbed down, my hands slipping on the cold rails, my legs shaking. I hit the ground and ran across the parking lot to my car. My keys? Thank God, I'd kept them in my pocket instead of my locker. I fumbled with the door, my hands trembling so badly I could barely get the key in. I looked back at the building. Kevin was standing on the fire escape, 3 floors up, watching me. Not chasing, just watching. I got in the car, locked the doors, and started the engine. My phone still had no signal. I drove. I didn't stop until I reached the police station 4 miles away. The police didn't believe me at first. I sat in the station at 3 in the morning, shaking and exhausted, trying to explain everything to a bored officer who kept asking why I didn't just call 911. I told him about the disabled cell repeater, the locked doors, Kevin's fake references. He wrote it down with the enthusiasm of someone filling out a parking ticket. They sent a patrol car to Crestview Medical Research. The building was locked up tight. No signs of forced entry. No one inside. Kevin's car was gone from the parking lot. They checked my locker, empty. No stolen property, no planted evidence. The cameras showed me working alone all night. Kevin never appeared on any footage. Not in the break room, not in the hallways, not on the fire escape. The recordings I'd seen were gone. Dale came in at 6 a.m., irritated at being woken up. He confirmed that Kevin Marsh worked weekend shifts, that his references had checked out fine, that there had never been any problems. When I insisted the references were fake, Dale pulled up Kevin's file on his phone. The numbers were different from the ones I'd called. "Look," the officer said, walking me out to my car as the sun rose. "You've been working nights for 8 months. Alone. That can mess with your head. Maybe you should take some time off." I wanted to scream, but I just nodded. I didn't go home. I drove to a friend's apartment across town and slept on her couch for 3 hours, then called Dale and quit. He didn't seem surprised. He said he understood, that night shifts weren't for everyone, and that he'd mail my final check. I didn't mention Kevin. What would be the point? For 2 weeks, I avoided my apartment as much as possible. I stayed with friends, I changed my locks, I checked the windows compulsively, and kept my phone charged and close. But nothing happened. No one followed me. No one broke in. My car wasn't tampered with. It was like Kevin had vanished. I got a new job. Daytime office work, busy and bright and full of people. I told myself I was safe now, that whatever Kevin had been doing at Crestview, it wasn't my problem anymore. Then, 3 weeks after I quit, I saw a news article. Crestview, medical research reports, theft of equipment and data. The article was brief. The company had discovered a significant loss of valuable medical equipment and proprietary research files over the past 6 months. An internal investigation was underway. No suspects had been named. I read it twice, my hands numb. 6 months. Since before I'd even started working there, I searched for Jennifer Kern, the guard Kevin said he'd framed before me. I found her obituary. She died 4 months ago. Single car accident on a rural road. No other vehicles involved. Police ruled it an accident. She'd fallen asleep at the wheel. I stared at the photo. A woman in her 40s, smiling. I closed my laptop and sat in the silence of my apartment. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the way Kevin had stood on that fire escape, not chasing me, just watching, like he'd already won. Around 2 a.m., I heard something outside my window. Footsteps on the gravel walkway. Slow, deliberate. They stopped directly outside my apartment. I held my breath, staring at the window. The blinds were closed, but I could see a shadow through the slats. Someone standing there. I didn't move, didn't breathe. After a minute, the footsteps continued, fading away into the night. I grabbed my phone and checked the locks. Door, deadbolt chain, all secure. In the morning, I found something on my doorstep, a blue ballpoint pen, the same one that had moved from the right side of my desk to the left. There was no note, no message, just the pen. I picked it up with shaking hands and looked around the parking lot. Empty. No cars I didn't recognize. No one watching. I threw the pen in the dumpster and went inside. But I know what it means. He knows where I live. He's been here. And the message is clear. I'm still watching. I've thought about going back to the police. But what would I tell them? That someone left a pen on my doorstep? I've thought about moving, changing my name, disappearing, but I don't think it would matter. Because the thing that keeps me awake at night isn't what Kevin did at Crestview. It's the fact that he's still out there, still working, still stealing, still framing people, and if I make noise, if I try to expose him or warn someone or go to the media, I think I know what will happen. I'll end up like Jennifer, a single car accident, fell asleep at the wheel, so tragic, so avoidable. So I stay quiet. I go to work. I come home. I check the locks. And sometimes, late at night, I hear footsteps outside my window. Slow, deliberate, and I lie there, in the dark, not moving, barely breathing, waiting for them to fade away. They always do, but I know someday they won't.